There is a bit of a debate in the fantasy scene that, sure, at some point you've heard someone argue about which is better, a hard magic system or a soft magic system. Now, before I tell you the answer to that, let me, for those unenlightened about this, a little ignorant about this, when someone says a hard magic system, technically they mean that the rules of the magic are well defined. And a lot of times that's really implied. Like in Dungeons and Dragons is a hard magic system, even though it's just like completely random spells like Big B's Magic Hand. Thing is that they know this much mana, this much diamond powder or whatever, and you get this specific effect. That is a hard magic system with defined rules, defined limitations, yada 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 yada. Think every video game. Think every lit RPG imitating video games. Shonen anime is typically a hard magic system, actually. Although shonen veers closer to soft magic systems. Soft magic systems are like Lord of the Rings, where, well, how does Sting know to glow? I don't know, magic. How does Gandalf shoo the Nazgul away with the light? Magic. And there is a lot more wonder in soft magic systems, but it can lead to a lot more confusion about what is possible. And you can get into weird, like, well, why doesn't X do Y questions? And that's where all this argument likes to stem from. And like every internet argument out there, the fact of the matter is there's a time and place for both. There's arguments in favor of both sides and arguments against both sides. Which is why I am here to bring you the enlightened position. You listen to this video, you stick around, you'll understand the actual truth of what makes for a good magic system, or at least the kind of flaw that creates a bad magic system. As if you've been following along, you know that I'm currently reading Perdido Street Station by China Maville, and I'm still only halfway through. I just wanted to make a video complaining about this because I couldn't resist, and before you think otherwise, I actually really am enjoying the book. I think this author does not understand what their magic did, though. I don't mean, like... So here's an example. Lightsabers in Star Wars. You got a handle, it turns into a laser sword of plasma, and you fight with it, and that's all great. Until you realize that in the prequels, they can use them to cut through blast doors and stuff. Very quickly at that. Which means that you're actually seeing how hot a lightsaber is, because you know steel's melting temperature and all that. And all of a sudden you can do the calculations of how hot is it to have a lightsaber 6 inches from your face. And it turns out that if you actually do the math there, every Jedi would be incinerated as soon as they turned their lightsaber on. And that is not because lightsabers are inherently dumb, it's George Lucas didn't think through the consequences of what he was showing. One of these days I'll do a video about what Dungeons and Dragons players can teach you about designing things, because tabletop players will always destroy everything you build. That is basically a truism of Dungeons and Dragons, and any dungeon master will tell you that. And a good author needs to bring that kind of mindset to their writing, so that even though, okay, maybe you do want a magic wish-granting hourglass that will grant you a wish, and then depending on how hard the wish is, the author just says, okay, it is inactive for so many years, like the Dragon Balls and Dragon Ball Z. And you don't ask, well, how does it grant the wishes? You don't ask, well, where does the power source from a lightsaber come from? And that's all well and good, but if you grant someone's wish, you have to actually realize what you did when you did that. And I'm specifically going to focus on what happened in the middle of this book. There's a lot of magic in this book. It's actually cool. You'll hear about it in the full review when I'm done. But one of the magic abilities is these frog people, the Vodiani, Vodianoi, I don't know, it's a fantasy word, can basically turn water into jelly, which means they can make it stand upright. And that's introduced very early on, a little Chekhov's gun action going on, when one of these frog people is able to make a statue and give it to the scientist guy to study, because he's whatever, don't worry about that right now. Point is, they can make water stand still. And that's fine. And halfway through the book, they use it to go on strike at the docks. Okay. Maybe what they do is they tunnel down to the riverbed, and then they put in massive barriers that prevents ships from sailing around it or something, right? That could have worked. It's actually brought up very early on that they will dig down to the bottom of lakes and such to like trawl the bottom for salvage and shipwrecks and lost treasure and all that, and that's all fine. No, actually what they do is they block the flow of the river. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a magic capable of damming a river instantaneously. You just need to realize what you do, like what has happened when a river in the middle of a city is blocked. Let's take the Detroit River as an example, because I live in the area. Narcissism, I guess. The Detroit River has a flow rate of 5,200 cubic meters per second. Which means, if you were me, I'm a little bit short of 2 meters tall, and you put me in a football field, it would take 3 seconds, and I would no longer be able to touch the bottom. 3 seconds. They have this river dammed for almost a day. And somehow it just it doesn't flood the city. There is no backup. The magic explicitly does not go far beyond where they've stopped it. It's just they've put up this barrier that just stops the flow of the river. And then the water's getting annihilated instead of flowing in? Like the other side of the river isn't drying up? Completely ridiculous. I maybe he thinks he's talking about a canal, and he thinks that there isn't flow through a canal. There is. Maybe, we're not talking about the Detroit River, of course. But the water has to go somewhere. When you say that magic does something, you have to actually answer, what does it do? If you say a lightsaber can cut through a blast door, that means the lightsaber is going to burn people that it's remotely close to. So, that's the enlightenment I'm here to bring you, which is the fact that hard or soft, both of them must, at the end of the day, abide by what they say they abide by. You can't lie to the reader. Don't do that if you're an author. And that's because the savvy readers will pick it up and just be like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? Now, sometimes there's like collective lies. Like the entire steampunk genre is based on the lie that you can build logic gates without electricity. And that'll be a whole video of its own, because I hate steampunk. As a mechanical engineer, I despise steampunk. It is the stupidest garbage. It doesn't work like that. And there's good reason it doesn't work like that. That'll be its own rant video. I just wanted to talk about weird fantasy right now, because you can have all your mystical, magical mojo stuff. But when you say something does a thing, it has to do that thing that you just said. Like, there are consequences. The world still functions around the magic. Unless you're in a simulation, maybe. But come on, who writes that? So, that's it for today's video. Think of this as a teaser for a book I'm actually really enjoying, but this is a 700-page book. It's a lot meatier than the usual stuff. Drop me a like if you enjoyed these thoughts, subscribe, and comment below whether you're on the hard magic or the soft magic side of the argument in general. Until next time, cheers.